Hello, this is an exploration of Kent Peck's newest crazy idea called test commit revert. The whole process is governed by this little script. We are writing some code in a file called test.js. The test is run. If it passes, it's being committed. If it fails, it's being reverted. The process is being kicked off by this little thing right here, which says if test.js changes, call the shell script that I just showed you, and that's all there is to it. I can start this script. I'm gonna go to my minimal Node.js setup here, which all it has is chai assert. So we can test this process by doing something like, oh well, just type in some crap, that's gonna be reverted. Also, if I say something like, well, is 1 equal to 2? No, so goodbye. So we can start off with a passing test now, which says, okay, 1 is equal to 1, so that passes. And as a little exercise, we can try to implement the famous or infamous fizzbuzz kata, which goes a little like this. Let's say we have the following: a function which calculates the fizzbuzz at 1, and if you are familiar with the fizzbuzz kata, this has to be 1. This test will of course fail because the function doesn't even exist, and we also did some syntax crap. So now we cheat a little bit by undoing that change. But anyway, this is the correct way of failing. fb_add is not defined. So the first little step we can do to make this pass is obviously implemented function. I say obviously, not as obviously, but it's really simple. So fb_add some number, for this test to be satisfied, will always be 1. So this test passes. Now in traditional TDD we would write a failing test, but if I write the failing test now, what happens is well, it's going poof, because, well, expected 2 but got 1. So to make this pass, I mean, Kent Peck in his first video actually did something like this. Well, I'm going to write a passing test, which is interesting. I'm going to write a passing test which passes in the current environment that I have, which is that every return value of fb_add is 1. So that passes. Now, actually what I do want, I want this to be 2. And to make this pass now, I'm not saving now because otherwise, well, it's gone, see? To make this pass, I can simply say, well, return num to string. That should hold us over for some numbers like 4. Well, actually also for some numbers like 3, because now we do this trick again. Well, I write a passing test. 3 returns the string 3, but fizzbuzz says, well, if the number is divisible by 3, please return the string fizz. So now I have this passing test, and I am now, which is really weird, implementing code to make it fail. So the classic way to do this is, of course, if number modulo 3 equals 0, return fizz. So again, that fails now and is reverted. Of course, I do the undo cheat. Not sure about that yet, but all I have to do now is say, okay, well, then I expect fizz here. So now we are good again for a couple of numbers, like 4. Well, actually, we are not. Oh, that's interesting. See, now I got punished for talking and typing at the same time. actually, yeah, 4 is 4. But now we arrive at 5. Well, okay, we know from the current implementation that 5 is 5. But FizzBuzz says if the number is divisible by 5, give us a buzz. So we're doing a little copy pasting because we are lazy, and return buzz here, and in order to keep our code, we type in the correct result here. So that keeps us going for a while. So FB at 6, for example, is 6. That works. Not. Because I, again, did something wrong. Why is this not 6? That is interesting. Because, of course, 6 is divisible by 3, so it's fizz. Okay, 7, however, is good. That's 7. The last rule of FizzBuzz says if something is divisible by 3 and 5, I want to say FizzBuzz. That doesn't work right now, so one would think it's that, but oh, that doesn't work either, because 15 is divisible by 3. That triggers the first if here, so at the current implementation 15 would return fizz, which is fine, right? It's really strange because it's a reversal of the usual TDD way of writing a failing test, making the test pass. In this case, I'm writing a passing test based on what I know about the implementation, and then changing the implementation to make the test fail, but not really. Anyway, so if num%3 equals 0 and num%5 equals 0, return FizzBuzz. So that means if I do this, it will not pass because I'm too slow. Fast, I mean. Well, because, of course, this has to be the first. So now we are done, right? So let's say 16 is probably just 16, right? Actually, no. And something like 30 will be FizzBuzz. Something like 50 will be buzz, I think, yep. And something like, I think 60 is probably just fizz, right? No, that's not, because it's also divisible by 5, so let's say 63. Okay, and that concludes our little tour de force through test commit revert.